Hey, Life Fixers. Hope you're having an awesome day. Are you ready to rewire your brain for taking action? How many ideas do you have in your brain that you've thought about so many hours, waited up so many nights, doesn't make so much sense, that you haven't been able to fall asleep of because you've been thinking about these ideas. Maybe you even have to get out of bed to write them down. Spoke about them, or maybe you were too scared to share them with other people and journaled about them. But these are thoughts that have been running through your brain and just no action was taken from them. You may have gotten stuck in the elaboration phase. As you know, there are 3 phases of thinking. If you didn't listen to episode 247, where we spoke about the 3 phases of thinking, you'll want to go and do that so you understand what we're talking about. But there is the input phase where we take in information, the elaboration phase where we process all the information and we're thinking about all those thoughts running around in your head, and the output phase, how we tell the world what we know or take action. Now, in the previous episode with Tim, he spoke a lot how a lot of therapists focus a lot on the elaboration phase, on the emotions and what the emotions are and where they're coming from, but they stay in the emotions. They don't go out and they don't take action. You've got to identify those emotions. You have to understand where they're coming from. You have to see what they're telling you, but you've got to go and take action from that. You have to go and move from the elaboration phase to the output phase. Okay, so how are you going to actually move from these thoughts to actually taking action? There's 2 things I want you to know. First of all, make for yourself a starting point. Don't think of the whole process of every single thing that you have to think about before you start. I'll give you an example. When I started with this podcast, I didn't know what it was going to be like today, this amazing one-of-a-kind podcast with Rewire brain episodes every Tuesday and Thursday. I actually started with 1 episode a week. I did know that I would move it up to 2, but it's like I'm just starting with 1, and if I need to stay at 1, I'm just doing it at 1. And then it moved up to 2, and then later on we changed it to adding in marriage picks on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then we changed it now to Rewire Your Brain. And I think this is going to stay for a long time. I didn't know in the beginning what it's going to look like. I constantly made changes and I constantly added to my plan, and I constantly learned new steps. Like even in the beginning, it was just audio, and today we're also on YouTube. And in the beginning, it wasn't on social media, and today we are on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, all over the place, and people are just loving it. Can't forget about those YouTube shorts. We've been able to move up so many other steps in this process, not by knowing all of this in the beginning. If I would have known that in the beginning, I don't really think I would have been able to start this podcast by saying, okay, 1 episode a week. I can do this short little 20-minute episodes. Here we are today. So same thing by you. I don't want you to think about the whole entire process. I want you to think about what's your starting point. You're going to get to there, and then you'll figure out the next step. Now, there's another thing for you to remember. You aren't going to get anything done if you don't start. So don't wait for it to be perfect. Don't wait for it to be amazing. Just go and get started. Fail because you will fail. Build your growth mindset and try it again. Always think about what's the worst thing that can happen, and is it worth it for you to go and do that? Now, I will plug in a warning here, especially for me. As you know, if you listen to 250, where I tend to like to take action right away. And you want to make sure that you're not having shiny object syndrome by just trying out all these sorts of things. I most definitely have tried some things that I realized that if I would have just stopped for a second and think about them, I wouldn't have actually tried them. And that's where I skipped the elaboration phase and went straight to the output phase, right? Taking input phase, taking in the information about the shiny objects, and output phase by just going and doing it, buying it, spending money, time, and energy in it. But skipping the whole elaboration phase. So you want to make sure you are having some elaboration phase, but don't let it get stuck there. Don't stay in elaboration phase. Okay. Meanwhile, if you would like to get yourself on the wait list, or you would want to get yourself on the wait list for Your Brain Rewired, head over to lifepixyouruniversity.com/Your Brain Rewired to be the first ones to know when registration opens up again and get a major discount. Bye for now, and I'll see you on the next episode. That's all for this episode of the Life Picks University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.